All right, viewers, let's take you now directly to Glasgow, where the Prime Minister would be meeting in a short while from now the Prime Minister of Britain, Boris Johnson. That meeting is going to take place just a short while from now. On your screen right now are the visuals of Prime Ministers Bonhomie with UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and UN Chief Antonio Guterres at the opening ceremony of the UN COP26 climate change ceremony. Now, the COP26 summit's agenda is to reduce the consumption of global coal resources, limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, curb increase of greenhouse gases and end subsidies on fossil fuels.
Can plant hundreds of millions of trees, a trillion. It's not technologically difficult. And halt and reverse deforestation by 2030. Not just because it's a spiritually uplifting and beautiful thing to do, but because that is the way to restore the balance of nature and to fix carbon in the air. And as we look at the green industrial revolution that's now needed around the world, we in the developed world must recognize the special responsibility we have to help everybody else to do it. Because it was here in Glasgow 250 years ago that James Watt came up with a machine that was powered by steam, that was produced by burning coal. And yes, my friends, we've brought you to the very place where the doomsday machine began to tick.
What is it, the one thing that you will ask the leaders of the climate change of COP26? You can look into the camera and tell them.
I think, first of all, to say that, Britain now is changing quite a lot. 4 out of 10 are aware of the climate change impact. Young people are not screaming, they're actually asking for change. Indeed, they brought out change in 2019 when this country declared climate emergency, no more climate impact. The messages are very clear. Act now, make plans properly, be accountable, and we want things to happen for the world. But they also now realize that climate change is impacting some people more than them.
All right, I'm going to cut across right now to two ladies. Our Foreign Affairs Editor, Geeta Mohan, who's joining me from the newsroom, as Lavina Tandon, who's joining us right now from Glasgow. Lavina, the meeting between the Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Johnson is to take place any time now. What's the latest?
Yes, that is right, Preeti. The meeting is going to take place any time now, and after that comes the very crucial national statement or the speech that the Prime Minister would be giving. Now, India plays a very, very crucial role in this whole climate change process. And they have actually already shown through their national determination contribution, the progress report, as we say, which is an aspect of COP22, that they have done well. And now it's that time to kind of urge the other countries to come up with the climate funding. Boris Johnson has already increased the funding to 1 million, but that is subject to the kind of progress made in the economy. Now, that is quite subjective. It may or may not happen. And this is not the kind of contribution, or this is not the kind of commitment when he says from aspiration to action. This is not what we are looking at, and this is what India is urging. India is urging that there has to be concrete action. There has to be a concrete plan from exactly the words of Boris Johnson. Action, concrete action, not aspiration, but action. But then that action has to come from the Western or the developed parts, and this is where India is at the moment. Of course, taking one more positive step along with a bilateral meeting that is to happen, in which they will be discussing the solar energy that India is taking lead on. But to get India on table, the other side of the table, which is the developed nations, have to pull up their socks.
Lavina, we're going to continue coming back to you. That photo opportunity there will present itself in moments from now. Prime Minister Modi meeting Prime Minister Johnson. But I want to shift focus and take on from what Lavina was talking about. And Geeta, I want to bring you in on this. It's a tightrope walk for countries like India, especially, at the COP26 this time around. Primarily is how much to give and how much to hold back, how much to push. Because usually the onus has always been on countries like India, with most, well-developed, if one can say, or Western countries refusing to take as much responsibility.
Absolutely agreeing with Lavina and Preeti taking that forward. The fact that the leaders are meeting just after G20, remember those 20 nations comprise 80% of the world's GDP, and it was a financial grouping, so a lot of conversation did take place on how to commit to fight against climate change, but nobody really came out with pledges. If those 20 countries could not find consensus, I do not see a real hope in what is going to be the outcome of COP26. There are two aspects. One is while the West has been insisting that 2050 should be when they should be looking at global net zero, countries like India have said we will look at 2050, but first look at 2030 and at least get your NDCs through, at least get the commitments, country commitments and pledges through, so at least we can see some forward movement. Now we'll have to wait and see how they really commit to that. There has been no commitment even on coal, and whether coal is going to be a resource that countries are going to resist from continuing to use. So a lot at stake over here, but really in terms of calling it an emergency, I certainly, Preeti, am not really hopeful or seeing forward movement in how urgent the matter really is.
Well, that's a pity if that's what, takes place. Will this all, this whole bonhomie that we see reduced to just symbolism, because the collateral is not just one country like India, but the entire world. I appreciate you joining us, Geeta. We're going to keep a keen eye on all developments there. Meanwhile, I want to very quickly shift focus to our other story, which is also developing. Like we just pointed out, Prime Minister Modi is all set to hold bilateral talks with Prime Minister Johnson as well. This will be the first in-person bilateral talks with the British and Indian Prime Ministers after the COVID outbreak. The discussions are expected to focus on UK-India climate partnership, as well as a stock take of the 2030 roadmap for stronger UK strategic partnership signed by the two leaders during a virtual summit in May this year. The meeting will focus on enhancing Solar Alliance partnership between the two countries. All right, viewers, focus on Maharashtra and a home minister that has been absconding. Well, Anil Deshmukh has finally presented himself and appeared before the ED after repeatedly skipping summons. Deshmukh has turned up at the ED office after the Bombay High Court rejected Deshmukh's plea to cancel the ED summons, directing Anil Deshmukh to appear immediately. The former Maharashtra minister is under the scanner in a money laundering and extortion case. Sources have told India Today that Deshmukh is being questioned on his links to tainted cop Sachin Waze. The former Maharashtra Home Minister is also being asked whether he ever met Waze or Patil and what was discussed. Specific questions are being asked on the extortion charge, like how much money was extorted and if there was a target set by Deshmukh. Remember, Deshmukh was accused of running an extortion racket by former top cop Parambir Singh, who is currently missing. ED has found evidence of 4.7 crores being laundered through a Delhi-based shell company to an educational trust run by Anil Deshmukh and his family.
ED का जब भी समन्स आया, मैंने उनको लिखित रूप से बताया कि हमारी जो केस है हाईकोर्ट में हमने दायर की है, उसकी सुनवाई चालू है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी हमने हमारी केस दायर की है। ईडी ऑफिस में यहाँ पे आया हूँ। मेरे ऊपर जो मुंबई के एक्स पुलिस कमिश्नर थे परमवीर सिंह, उन्होंने जो आरोप किए, वो परमवीर सिंह आज कहाँ है?
All right, viewers, on the sidelines of this big drug bust where Aryan Khan was also embroiled in, there is a personal battle which is now playing out between two ministers, NCP's Nawab Malik and the former Chief Minister of BJP, Devendra Fadnavis.
The Maha drug dangal, a full-blown political war, the NCP's Nawab Malik and BJP's Devendra Fadnavis locking horns in public. Allegation versus counter-allegation flying thick, fast and furious. The bitter war began with this tweet by Maharashtra Minister Nawab Malik, showing one alleged drug peddler, Jaideep Rana, with ex-Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis' wife, Amruta. Malik then tweeted another image of Rana with Fadnavis himself, claiming drug peddler links of the BJP's first family in Maharashtra. Devendra Fadnavis was quick to hit back, calling the images 4 years old and a laughable bid to malign his family.
हम बताना चाहते हैं देश को कि जयदीप राणा जेल में बंद है, ड्रग ट्रैफिकिंग के केस में गिरफ्तारी हुई है, लेकिन उनके रिश्ते महाराष्ट्र के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री श्री देवेंद्र फडणवीस जी से भी हैं। ये कह देना कि सार्वजनिक जीवन में कौन किसके साथ तस्वीरें खींच लेता है हमें पता नहीं। तस्वीर तो ऐसी है कि एक दूसरे को तुम शैतान हो, इस तरह की तस्वीर है।
पूरी टीम ने हमारे साथ उस समय फोटो खिंचवाए और उस व्यक्ति को 4 साल बाद आज एनसीबी ने अरेस्ट किया। ये 4 साल पहले का फोटो है और इसके आधार पर वे संबंध जोड़ना चाहते। सबसे महत्व की बात यह है कि ये संपूर्ण रिवर मार्च के जो लोग हैं, इसमें जो प्रमुख है मिस्टर चौगुले, इन्होंने भी कल स्पष्ट किया है कि हमारी टीम के साथ ये आए हुए थे, इनका कोई संबंध नहीं है।
Minister Malik then shared a YouTube video song link featuring Devendra Fadnavis and his wife Amruta Fadnavis. इसमें ही सबका भला यही वक्त की मांग है. The details in the link showed that Jaideep Rana was the financial head behind the song. Malik claimed that Jaideep Rana, who is an alleged drug peddler, had links with Devendra Fadnavis. The ex-Maharashtra Chief Minister countered it with a counter-drug kingpin jibe.
मुख्यमंत्री रहते समय उनकी पत्नी ने एक रिवर सॉन्ग चल चल मूवी मुंबई नदी संरक्षण अभियान के नाम से एक रिवर सॉन्ग बनाया था और उसके फाइनेंस हेड जयदीप राणा जी थे। कि मुझे मालूम नहीं था ये कौन आदमी फाइनेंशियल हेड बन गया, लेकिन देवेंद्र जी के जयदीप राणा के रिश्ते बहुत घनिष्ठ थे।
नवाब मलिक जी ने ये नहीं देखा कि उसके फोटो तो मेरे साथ भी है, लेकिन मेरे साथ के फोटो उन्होंने ट्वीट नहीं किए क्योंकि उनको पता था कि इसकी वैल्यू कम हो जाती है, क्योंकि मेरे साथ तो किसी का भी फोटो खींचा जा सकता है। इसलिए मेरे पत्नी के साथ का फोटो जानबूझकर उन्होंने ट्वीट किया है। मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूं कि किसी तीसरे आदमी के साथ फोटो आने से अगर बीजेपी का ड्रग कनेक्शन बनता है तो राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस के मंत्री नवाब मलिक, इनके साथ रहने वाले उनके जवाई, इनके घर में गांजा अगर या इनके पास गांजा अगर मिलता है तो इस रेशियो से पूरी राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस पार्टी यही ड्रग्स की किनपिन होनी चाहिए।
Fadnavis also vowed to expose Nawab Malik's underworld links with a dhamaka after Diwali.
अब उन्होंने एक फुलझड़ी जलाई है तो बम तो फूटेगा और दिवाली के बाद फूटेगा, और दिवाली के बाद नवाब मलिक इनके अंडरवर्ल्ड के साथ क्या संबंध है, इसके सबूत मैं आपको भी दूंगा और राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस पार्टी के जो अध्यक्ष है श्री शरद पवार जी, इनको भी मैं वो सबूत दूंगा।
Replying to Fadnavis' warning, Nawab Malik put out a tweet saying he is ready. What started as the Aryan Khan drug bust case to an attack on Sameer Wankhede, it has all degenerated now into an all-out political fight between the Aghadi Sarkar and the BJP in Maharashtra. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, viewers, let's take you to Punjab now, where the Chief Minister by the Congress, Mr. Channi, is clearly not on the same page as his party president, Navjot Singh Sidhu. The reason why? Well, the Chief Minister held a press conference this afternoon where he said that the Treasury has enough money to take care of all expenses incurred by the state. On the other hand, Sidhu said, whosoever claims that Punjab's coffers are not empty is lying. So who do you quite believe?
ਝੂਠ ਬੋਲ ਕੇ 500 ਵਾਅਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਚੋਂ ਕੱਖ ਪੂਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੜਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ।
Welcome back. You're watching our Fact Check segment where we bust certain claims masquerading to be facts on social media platforms and WhatsApp groups. There's a claim floating about that the Prime Minister, Modi, took a taxi for his trips in Italy. Well, the viral image is completely morphed and false. With that quick fact check, time for us to go into a quick break. You do stay with us. On the other side is To The Point.